Welcome to the Awakening to Abundance podcast. I'm your host, Athena. This podcast is more than a podcast. It's a transformative journey designed to help you awaken to your abundance. For you to discover what living the fullness of life means to you. And to co-create that life in this podcast community. As always, we're jumping right in with today's episode. Welcome. This podcast episode is actually going to be a little bit different than it normally is because I am practicing for my first podcast interview, and they've sent over a few questions that I am essentially going over and practicing before the podcast interview. But what I really want to point out here is that the episode that dropped this week on Tuesday was actually a voice note from February of 2023. And this voice note that you're going to hear today, me practicing for the podcast, was actually recorded 5 months later in July 2023. And it's really interesting to see the growth, expansion, and clarity that came from just 5 months of allowing the process and the journey to unfold. So I'm really excited for you guys to listen to that. And while I answer questions in regard to my own story and the way that I coach, the tenets that I go over in the voice note are really helpful for any entrepreneur, whatever field you're in. And this includes codependency with clients, entrepreneurial tools versus your energy, engagement with your community, with your potential clients, being transparent with your clients, giving yourself permission to run your business your way in your most authentic and aligned version of how you want to do that, and allowing yourself to play and experiment. There won't be a lesson afterward like there normally is because there's a lot of beautiful nuggets in here, just the voice note alone. So I will leave you in the present moment, 2025, to listen to the voice note from 2023. I hope you enjoy. Let me first set up this initial question, which was, how did you originally get into coaching? And I start answering the question by telling the story about how my military husband and I were just told that we were going to relocate from North Carolina to Washington State. And I began questioning how everything was going to change and how it would make sense then that my career, my job would change as well. Okay, now here's the voice note. My life is going to change so much. All these things are going to change. And it's going to continue to change like every 3 years, if not more often. Maybe I should actually think about how different my job life could be. And honestly, I first thought, will I ever have a fulfilling career if I'm constantly moving? Will I ever have the opportunity to find a career that makes me happy if we're moving every 3 years, if not more? So I started asking questions in the military community, in the military spouse community. And I said, do you really think I could find a job that's fulfilling with moving every 3 years? Because I wasn't sure. I had that mind block of, I'd never really found it. And now I'm going to make it even worse, make it even harder to find it. Because if I find it, then we're going to have to leave it in 3 years and I'm going to have to re-find it again. And so I almost didn't even believe that it was possible to find a fulfilling job. So after a little while speaking with some military spouses, they reassured me that yes, I could find a fulfilling job. Might not be all the time, but it's possible. And so that made me feel a little bit better. But then the box had been opened of like, well, if I'm going to make all these big changes, then maybe I make an authentic change here in the career, especially if some of these other women think that it could be possible for me. And so what I ended up doing was asking myself, what do I want to do? Like, actually, what do I want to do? And so took a bunch of assessments. I really thought about my knowledge, skills, and abilities, and coaching kept coming up. And even though in my heart, I felt that that was the answer, I almost started kind of brushing it off because I came from a family, I came from a community where we were really strict about what's right and wrong in a masculine society. It was all about hard work and all about following the rules. And so the idea of coaching almost sounded a little bit too woo-wooey for me, even just the idea of coaching. And also I have to present this to my husband. And so I go finally after being like, oh my God, it's coaching, it's coaching. I finally go to my husband and I'm like, hey, it's coaching. And he was like, great. I'm just so happy that you found what you wanted. And then all my fears of it being kind of a woo-woo job went out the window. And then I also realized if we were going to live this life and if I was going to be a coach, and this was pre-pandemic, then I probably needed to be an entrepreneur at the same time. And that scared the crap out of me because I was like, I can get on board with the coaching, but working for myself, being an entrepreneur, like that's a whole new story, right? I mean, that doesn't like make me really excited. That scares the shit out of me. So that was that. But I was also so into coaching and so into being this life of a military spouse that I knew entrepreneurship was going to have to be something that I would have to get on board with. And so that's how I got into it in general. It was really this calling that had always been on my heart, but it took a while for me to really actually open up to the idea and jump on board. So that's how I got started in the profession too, was I thought about who do I want to serve? Well, what community am I in? And so I actually started out coaching, mentoring military spouses. And that quickly actually moved into other things, one of which was coaching entrepreneurs. And then I finally landed on coaching, teaching, and mentoring around abundance. And so that's what I currently do and is my definite calling. Most important qualities for a successful coach to possess. Being authentic to yourself is the most important quality that you can have as a coach. Because when you're authentic, everything falls into line. When you're authentic, you are finding inside of yourself what lights you up. You are asking yourself, your most authentic self, your inner being, whatever you want to call it. Who am I meant to be and who am I meant to serve and how am I meant to do all this? And it's from that space of really being in the knowingness of who we are that our light can shine through. I coach in a different way. My approach is a bit different. I do one-on-ones, I do masterminds, I've done in-person intensives. I also do programs. And because I am a teacher, mentor, and coach, really combine the three into that. So a lot of my offerings will have teaching and then coaching as part of that offering. And so for me, even that, like to understand that I didn't want to do straight coaching and for me to open myself up to that journey from becoming the coach to moving into being more of a teacher and coaching as well was big for me. But that's the process that really comes from seeking what's inside of you, seeking what the answer is from inside, what your most authentic self is calling you to be, and how to serve, and what your uniquenesses are. And so for me, that is the most important quality for a successful coach. Because the other part of this is successful coach is only deemed successful based on what you, as the coach, teacher, mentor, feel is success. I mean, we all get to create our own realities. We all get to create our own lives, and we get to help other people do that for themselves. That's what coaching is all about. So for you to be able to do that for yourself is incredibly important, so that way you could help other people do that for themselves. When asked the question, how do you approach working with clients who are struggling to achieve their goals? For me, it's a very similar approach of how I run my programs and offerings. Obviously, the coaching is individual to that person. So I do use more formal coaching tactics in that way. But the thing is about clients who are struggling to achieve their goals. For me, I set down the codependency that is my particular thing to work through with them. I really set down that codependency of you being able to accomplish this is on me, right? Because it's not on me. It's 100% on the client. And when we say, I need to help you stop struggling through it, it's like, well, I can't help you stop struggling. You have to choose to stop the struggle. You have to choose to make it easy. And I'm inviting you to look at things and have new thoughts that say, I don't have to struggle through whatever this is. I can feel the least resistant way to move through this, and I'm going to choose to do that. And so for me, I really empower them to figure out what way does that look like for them. And that way, they're not dependent on me for their answers, and they're not dependent on me to figure out their process for moving through things. I can offer my process through the teaching, but for them, they get to figure out what their own process is. Because again, going back to the authenticity part, everyone's process is different. Everyone, the way that they look at things is different. Everyone perspective is different. And everyone has to find what it is that works for them inside themselves. So I don't want people to come back to me continuously. I want them to learn what's inside of them, what works best for them, be open to that in every way, in their business, in their personal life, being an entrepreneur, and then being able to help whoever they're helping in whatever capacity that looks like, do the same for themselves. So how do I stay motivated and continue to grow as a coach? This is one of my favorite things to talk about because, yeah, I love to be a teacher, mentor, and coach around abundance, but I love being in abundance. I love learning more about abundance. I love growing in abundance. And so I read books. I hire coaches and mentors and teachers, and I'm in the energy of abundance. And again, this is almost exactly like what I just said. I am in those spaces and learning and being and elevating so that way I can teach, mentor, and coach others so that they can teach, coach, and mentor others. One of the best things about being an entrepreneur is the fact that I get to continue to do the work that I'm inviting my clients to do and coaching them through on how to do for themselves. I mean, that's half the fun, right? I get to create that life where half the time I'm doing it myself. I'm learning. It's so exciting. It's so wonderful. And then the other half of my life, I get to teach it out, coach it out, mentor it out. So for me, staying motivated is not really hard to do because it's like one of my favorite things to do. And I love growth and expansion. So it's my pleasure to do that. Let's see. How do I balance holding clients accountable while being compassionate and supportive? So this kind of goes back to the other question a little bit for me. I don't hold accountable my clients. I create spaces where they can come together as a community going through the same program or group, but I don't personally make it my job or my value to hold them accountable to what they're looking to get out of the program. Sometimes I have accountability groups within the larger community that are going through the programs, and they hold each other accountable, have them as accountability partners. And I give them homework in order to continue their growth and hold them accountable in that particular way, encourage them and empower them to find their own process, to find what works for them, and then share it with a group and help the whole become better in that way. But again, I want to go back to the codependency part. I don't want a client to continue to come back to me at the same level as they are when they first come to see me. I want to empower them to expand, to grow, to get through whatever they're trying to get through or have the breakthrough, have the transformation. That's what it's all about. It's always about the transformation for me. It's not about a mountaintop experience or getting a load of materials like the car or the house or whatever. It's not about that. Abundance is more of a state of being, and you deepen into that. I don't hold any codependency in saying that I am the one who will make your dreams come true or get you through all your problems. That's not who I am, but I am 100% compassionate and supportive in them creating what works for them and what will continue to work for them to grow and to expand. For me, a lot of the marketing has shifted online, especially social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever email system you use, MailerLite, MailChimp, etc. These are all really great tools. But here's the thing, they're just tools. And what people want is transformation. And what people are looking for is the energy that your teacher, your coach, your mentor is bringing through the tools of social media and all the online platforms that we use. And so I'm not going to talk about the specific tools I use or funnels or anything like that, because for me, it's literally just the tools. And it's the way that you use them that really brings them to life. And so for me, it's all about the energy of which I show up online, the consistency that I show up online, and all of it comes from the energy that I find within myself, the energy of wanting to help transform lives. It's the energy of wanting to invite people into possibilities. It's the way that I talk to people. It's the convictedness in my heart and in my voice, the way that I share. All of that is the energy in which you do everything is the energy that you're going to get back. And so you could be kind of like a robot online. You just be like, kind of like, yeah, here's my little post for today. And then that's it. Or you could do that 5 times a day. But like, if there's no energy behind it, then it's not, no one is going to respond to that. No one is going to resonate with that. So as much as we love to talk about tools, I think it's about the energy that's behind it. And the other part I really want to talk about is engagement. So much of social media now is just moving it along, just scroll. And what really people want, social media or in real life, is to feel connection, is to feel purposeful, is to feel heard. And so when we can engage genuinely with our potential clients, and we're trying to attract clients online, it's so important to engage with empathy, because I know what you're going through. I have stories where I can be vulnerable and show you and be my authentic self that you're going to resonate with, because like that is you, right? And not just about me sharing, of course, but it's me literally saying, I want to hear from you, right? I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know if this is resonating with you. I want to know if what I'm saying is helpful. Because if it's not helpful, then I don't want to keep saying it. I'm here to serve. I'm here to create. I'm here to co-create. I'm here to be in it with you. So engaging with empathy is incredibly important. When we see our clients, it's not about the dollar sign. It's not about, let me help you from this scarcity and lack place. It's about authentically being like, hey, I've got something. I'm so excited to share it with you. I believe this 100%. And if this resonates with you, if this makes sense with you, here's more of what I have to offer in the different ways that I can be of service. But there's no codependency around it. Having that clean energy and engaging with empathy is incredibly important to use when you're with these tools online. Share an example of a coaching success story and what I believe contributed to its success. So hopefully by now you understand and hear that I am not what leads to its success. I am not. And I am A-okay and more than happy to say that, because it is all about their success. And that's what I'm doing. I empower people to find what's in their heart, what makes them feel purposeful, what makes them feel lit up, and to do that abundantly and in abundance, because that's what abundance is. So a story of mine is I do in-person intensives here in Monterey. Monterey is incredibly abundant with wildlife, sea life, so many luxurious shops and hotels and restaurants. It's just an absolutely beautiful place. So I do intensives here. And I had a woman who came to an intensive and she wanted more abundance in her life. And what we really discovered there was the fact that she was really able to be kind of like cheerleader for everyone else, right? She was able to give everyone else love, joy, happiness. She was able to show that to other people. But when it came to herself, she had a very hard time giving herself compassion and allowing herself to receive any abundance in her own life. So her thoughts went something like, well, of course, so-and-so can do it because she's wonderful, but I can't do it because of blank, blank, blank. And so it's with those thoughts we work through and we learn to talk to ourselves more compassionately, but also learning to control our thoughts in the way that we speak to ourselves, really opening ourselves up to what's possible and learning to love ourselves and find what our most authentic self is, and then opening to our desires, and then abundance flows. So abundance is a process, and it's not something, again, that's materialistic necessarily. There's no mountaintop experience of, I got the car or I got the house. The success part of it, quote unquote success, right? Because again, I don't define it as a success. She gets to define it as a success. So her success is, after checking in with her multiple times, is she is learning to open up and give this to herself. She is opening up herself to the possibilities that are available to her. She is being nicer and kinder to herself. She's allowing in abundance in multiple aspects of her business, of her personal life. That to me is a success. But again, there's no mountaintop experience with expansion. You're just expanding into new levels of abundance. And honestly, that's a lot of what this work is. So her story is not uncommon, but that's what success looks like in abundance. Some common misconceptions about coaching and how to address them with your clients. So for me, being 100%, again, authentic online is so incredibly important, because what you see online is what you get, right? And so I make sure to be my most authentic self. and show how I do things, why I do things, and in what way I do things online. So that way, by the time they're my clients, there's not many misconceptions. But in general, I think the idea of misconceptions in coaching is an interesting phrase just because, again, coaching can mean so many different things. And I think me coaching and then having that in addition to teaching and mentoring and in a subject like abundance really shows you the wide array of what coaching can look like or what the conceptions can be. So just be really, really upfront in the beginning of who you are, what you do, and how you help them is really how you attract clients and make sure that they resonate with you and that you resonate with them and that you are an ideal match. If I were to write a book about myself, what would I name it? So I would name it Abundance with Athena. And I'll tell you why the with is so important, because the thing is that this whole process, not even the process of abundance, but the whole process of life is so much more fun when we're saying, come with me and not look at me. I am always in this process. I will always be in this process. And I want to show people that it is a process and to be okay with the process and that there is no failure. There's only growth. And so the idea that there's some mastery in it or there's having to make myself look like I know everything about abundance or life in general, is more of a look at me and I am more of a come with me. And so Abundance with Athena would be my title because I want to share how I've come to know and tap into and be in a state of abundance. And this is one way of so many that could work for you too. So any final thoughts I have? I think for me, the biggest thing when I was starting to be a coach and an entrepreneur was getting over the idea that there's a right and wrong or any of that inside of what we do as coaches. It's really like living inside of a box, and you're not going to fully know your authentic self and your authentic way of doing things until you decide that it's okay to question things. And not just in coaching, but being an entrepreneur, questioning whether I have to use this funnel or questioning the way that this particular marketing firm is telling me I have to do things. When you know that the inner self is the one that has all the answers, and you are okay with opening up to that, and this is a process, of course, like everything is, then you will learn to love yourself more. You will learn to be more authentic, and then you will be so much more happy, and it will be so much more enjoyable, and it will feel so much more fulfilling, and it will feel so much more purposeful and on fire and so exciting. And your clients are going to see that, and they're going to want to be a part of that world. And so when we give ourselves that permission to open up and find what works for us, we give the world the permission to open up and see what works for them and become their most authentic selves. And I think that's one of the reasons why we all got into coaching anyway. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode and being part of this community. I want to hear from you. Did something resonate with you in this episode? Are you experiencing awakenings or synchronicities in your life? Do you have any questions or ideas for the podcast in general? Email me at podcast@abundancewithathena.com or DM me on Instagram at abundancewithathena and share with me your stories. And with your permission, I'll share them with our community. And until next time, Keep awakening to the abundance that's always within you.